What's up, Bulls Nation? It's the Bloody Horns podcast. I'm your host, Justin. Let's get into it, man. We got a lot of things to cover in today's daily content. So, AK and Marc Eversley, they promised us change this offseason. We are going to find out very soon if that's a real promise or if those promises were just empty words, because there's a lot of deadlines coming up that mean a lot for the Chicago Bulls' future. So, first off, free agent negotiations with DeMar, Pat, Andre Drummond, and Javonte, they can all start tomorrow. They can start working out their contracts, and these are going to be the biggest indications on if we're actually going to see things change around here. So, DeMar DeRozan, if we bring DeMar DeRozan back, man, that just means there's going to be no change. If we bring DeMar DeRozan back, that means that we are still doing what we've been doing, which means we're going to scrap and claw our way to try to get into that play-in tournament, even though it's basketball irrelevancy, especially out east. Out west, it's a little bit different because they're 9 and they're 10 seeds. They're only like a game back of their 5 and 6 seeds. Out east, it's a totally different landscape out here. The Chicago Bulls, we were like 7 games back of the 6 seed. So it's a totally different landscape out east. If you're in the play-in tournament out east, totally irrelevant. So if we bring DeMar DeRozan back, that means that that's still the goal. We need to blow it up. We need to start from scratch. There with DeMar DeRozan on the roster, and I love DeMar DeRozan. I'm going to keep saying this every time that I say anything negative about bringing DeMar DeRozan back, just to keep you guys in perspective here. DeMar DeRozan is my favorite player in the NBA. DeMar DeRozan's been my favorite player in the NBA since he was on the Raptors. Since Kobe Bryant left, I've been a diehard DeMar DeRozan fan. I was happy as hell when the Chicago Bulls got him. When people were calling it a bad signing, I was laughing at them because people were acting like he was washed, like he didn't have anything left in the tank. I knew DeMar DeRozan still had stuff left in the tank, and he's exceeded my expectations in a Chicago Bulls uniform. It's been a fucking pleasure to watch DeMar DeRozan in a Chicago Bulls uniform. The level of professionalism he brings to the game, that's something that every player should go after, to be that level of a professional in basketball. There's nothing wrong with having DeMar DeRozan on the team. It's just that as a DeRozan fan, I want to see him go play somewhere he can actually win. As a Chicago Bulls fan, I want to see us start from scratch and the goal should be to be a champion, right? To win a title. That should be the goal for every team. It's not realistic for that to be your goal every year, but long term, that should be your goal. We are not even in the realm of thinking about a championship. So we got to start from scratch. We got to try to build this thing back up. We got to try to build it from the ashes. So if DeMar DeRozan's back on this team, that's a sign that this front office still hasn't realized that, and that we're going to try to get that 8 or 9 seed. Patrick Williams, I'm on record, guys. I don't know why you signed Patrick Williams to a long-term deal. Not only is the production not there, I floated it on Twitter yesterday. I said, who's the bigger bust, Patrick Williams or Tyrese Thomas? Pretty much everybody said Tyrese Thomas, it's kind of wrong, guys. It's kind of wrong. Tyrese Thomas, his best year with Chicago was 11 points, 7 rebounds. He played 27 minutes a game. Last year, Patrick Williams, he gave us 10 points, 4 rebounds. He was playing 32 minutes a game. Tyrese Thomas was the more productive player, and he played in a slower era. There were less possessions back then in that season that he put up his little 11-7, which still isn't great, by the way. It's nothing to write home about, but it's more productive than Patrick Williams, and Tyrese Thomas was giving us a block and a half that year too. So the problem with Tyrese Thomas is we traded LaMarcus Aldridge for him. If you take the trade out and you just compare player to player, Tyrese Thomas was the more productive player than Patrick Williams. So I don't know why there's this need to sign Patrick Williams to a long-term extension. If we bring him back on the qualifying offer, I'm fine with that. But outside of the lack of production, it's a health thing too. 2 out of his 4 years, he's missed most of the year. He hasn't been able to prove he can stay healthy. He hasn't shown a level of aggressiveness. So I don't know why we would sign him to a long-term extension. Andre Drummond, I'm not worried about bringing Andre Drummond back. I don't think there's any way the Chicago Bulls can bring Andre Drummond back. Somebody out there is going to offer him a hell of a lot more than the veteran minimum he's been playing on the last 2 years. So I don't think he's going to be back. Unless we salary dump Vucevic, we salary dump LaVine, and then we decide to pay Andre Drummond what he's worth. That's the only way he could come back, but that's not going to happen. So Javonte Green's an interesting one because last offseason, a lot of people, they were pretty bummed about losing Javonte and Derrick Jones Jr. I was one of the people, I was like, no, we need to see some change on the roster. We can't bring back the same 15 as the year before. So I was fine getting rid of those guys and bringing in Torrey Craig, Javon Carter, seeing some turnover in the roster, some change. Then Javonte Green came back at the end of last year, and Javonte Green is why I'm so out on Patrick Williams, because a lot of people said, it's the offense. Patrick Williams doesn't get chances to cook. The reality is Patrick Williams just isn't aggressive enough. He doesn't have that in him. When Javonte Green came in, right away, he's cutting to the hoop. He's doing his thing on the fast break. He's making plays that Patrick Williams has all the capabilities of making. He just doesn't have the heart to make. That made me all the way out on Patrick Williams. That made me realize Patrick Williams is what he is, and that type of player just isn't what the Chicago Bulls need going forward. So Javonte Green this offseason, kind of similar to Andre Drummond. I feel like that 15-game stretch last year was kind of a signal to teams. I'm sure Denver is looking at it like, damn, we could have used the Javonte Green this year. Golden State's probably thinking the same thing. I think somebody's going to pay him. So those four, they're interesting. It's going to tell us a lot about what the Chicago Bulls plan is going forward. And we're going to find out as soon as tomorrow. I'm not going to be shocked if we see a DeMar DeRozan extension get announced early next week. I'm going to be bummed, but I'm not going to be shocked. League-wide free agent negotiations, they start on the 30th. This free agent class is pretty weak. I like Nick Claxton. The Bulls don't have the means to get that done unless it's a sign and trade. But other than that, the rest of the free agents, they're nothing to get excited about. The interesting one is Caruso and Lonzo. Those contract extension talks, they can also start on the 30th. This is why I think we need to trade Alex Caruso, because the reality is Alex Caruso is not going to sign a contract extension here. One, he's a very competitive dude. I doubt that he wants to sign up for more seasons of play-in tournaments. And two, I believe the rule is that his contract extension cannot be more than 30% of his current cap number. Alex Caruso on the open market, there's a good chance, especially if he has a season like he had last year, like he had the year before, if he makes an all-defensive team again, there's a good chance that he's going to get that out on the open market, that he's going to get a contract greater than a 30% raise, especially with the salary cap numbers rising. So I don't think it makes sense for him to sign a contract extension. I don't think he wants to sign a contract extension. So I've been saying our biggest move this offseason is going to be trading Alex Caruso. He has the most trade value on the team. You should be able to get a nice draft pick for him, maybe a nice young player too, and that would signal a real change in the organization. So we're going to find out very soon if the promise change is a real promise or it's one of those hollow promises. So let me know in the comments what you guys think about this week coming up, what moves you want to see the Bulls do this offseason.